December 1757. Prussia is on the brink, hemmed in, outnumbered, reeling from defeats. The great powers of Europe, Austria, France, Russia, Sweden, converge like wolves upon a wounded stag. The 7 Years' War rages, and the kingdom forged by Frederick the Great seems destined to shatter. Just weeks earlier, a humiliating defeat at Kolin. Now, a massive Austrian army, confident, 80,000 strong, occupies Silesia, Prussia's heartland. They stand near the town of Leuthen, poised for the killing blow. Facing them, Frederick leads a force less than half their size. Exhausted, demoralized, scraped together after a grueling campaign. Panic whispers in the ranks. Despair hangs heavy in the winter air. Advisors counsel retreat, caution. The odds are impossible. Annihilation seems certain. In such moments, emotion screams for control. Fear paralyzes reason. But Frederick is different. In the swirling chaos where lesser men crumble, his mind achieves a chilling clarity. He understands the timeless truth Robert Greene would later articulate. Strategy number 3. Amidst the turmoil of events, do not lose your presence of mind. For Frederick, the storm of battle is not a reason to lose control, but the very arena where a disciplined mind can forge victory from the jaws of defeat. Leuthen will become his masterpiece. The 7 Years' War, arguably the first true world war, saw Prussia fighting for its very existence. Frederick II, old Fritz to his soldiers, was a monarch unlike any other. Philosopher king, ruthless strategist, prodigious musician, and architect of Prussia's unlikely rise. But 1757 had tested him severely. After driving the French and their allies back at Rossbach in a stunning victory just a month earlier, Frederick force-marched his weary army over 200 miles in 12 days to confront the Austrians menacing Silesia. A Herculean feat, but it left his men drained as they approached Leuthen. The Austrian commander, Prince Charles of Lorraine, assisted by the capable Marshal von Daun, held a formidable position. Their massive army stretched over 5 miles, anchored by the village of Leuthen. They knew Frederick was coming. They knew they outnumbered him massively. Their confidence bordered on arrogance. They prepared for a conventional head-on Prussian assault, the kind of attack Frederick couldn't possibly win. They were preparing, perhaps, for the last war Frederick had fought. Frederick gathered his generals. The mood was grim. Retreat seemed the only logical option. But Frederick, radiating an almost unnerving calm, declared his intention. Gentlemen, we must attack. He acknowledged the odds, the danger, but his resolve was absolute. He appealed not just to duty, but to their pride, their survival. His presence of mind, his refusal to bow to the seemingly overwhelming pressure, began to steady the nerves of his commanders. December 5th, 1757. Dawn breaks cold and misty over the fields near Leuthen. Frederick rides out, personally scouting the Austrian lines. Visibility is poor, but through the swirling fog, he discerns the vast enemy deployment. He sees their strength, their numbers, and their weakness. The Austrian line is long, too long, to cover such ground. Their southern flank, anchored near marshy ground, and the village of Sagschutz, is relatively weaker and less observed. Prince Charles expects a frontal attack on Leuthen village itself, the center of his line. All attention is focused there. Here, amidst the tension and uncertainty, Frederick's genius ignites. Panic would demand a desperate frontal assault. Fear would counsel retreat. But Frederick's calm, analytical mind sees an opportunity born from the enemy's assumptions. He will not attack the center. He will refuse the battle the Austrians expect. He conceives a plan of stunning audacity. requiring immense discipline and perfect execution, the oblique order of battle. He will feint towards the Austrian center and right, drawing their reserves, fixing their attention. Then, hidden by the terrain, a series of low ridges, he will march the bulk of his army southwards, parallel to the Austrian line but unseen, to fall like a thunderbolt upon their weakened left flank. It's a gamble of monumental proportions. It requires his army to march across the enemy's front, undetected. It demands perfect timing, coordination, and unwavering discipline from soldiers already pushed to their limits. One mistake, one premature discovery, and his army could be caught mid-maneuver and annihilated. The feint begins. Prussian cavalry and advanced infantry units probe towards the Austrian right, near Frobelwitz. Austrian commanders react as predicted, shifting reserves northwards, convinced this is the main assault. Their eyes are fixed firmly in the wrong direction. Meanwhile, hidden by the low hills, the main Prussian army turns south. An entire army, marching in disciplined columns, screened from 80,000 pairs of enemy eyes just a mile or two away. The fog helps, the terrain helps, but most of all, Frederick's calm orchestration, his trust in his meticulously trained troops, makes the impossible possible. This is presence of mind translated into strategic action. Hours pass. The tension is palpable. Every soldier understands the risk, but they follow Frederick. They trust the discipline ingrained through years of relentless drilling. Suddenly, emerging from the screening hills, the Prussian vanguard appears directly on the unsuspecting Austrian left flank near Sagschutz. The Austrians positioned there are stunned. They scramble to react, but it's too late. Frederick deploys his army with incredible speed and precision, angling them to roll up the Austrian line from south to north. Wave after wave of Prussian infantry, firing disciplined volleys, the product of endless practice, crashes into the exposed flank. Prussian artillery, positioned expertly on high ground, adds devastating fire. The Austrian southern flank dissolves into chaos. Regiments are overwhelmed before they can fully turn to face the onslaught. Prince Charles desperately tries to shift troops from his center and right, but the distances are too great, the confusion too profound. Frederick's initial feint and the sheer speed of his flank attack have paralyzed the Austrian command structure. The fighting surges towards the village of Leuthen itself. Here, the Austrians mount a determined defense, using the churchyard and buildings as strong points. The battle reaches its ferocious climax. Frederick, ever present, rides among his troops, directing battalions, shoring up lines, his calm demeanor, a stark contrast to the surrounding carnage. He is not directing from the rear, he is in the turmoil, yet his mind remains the anchor. A critical moment arrives. An Austrian cavalry charge threatens to break the advancing Prussian infantry. But Frederick anticipates it. General Zieten's Prussian cavalry, held in reserve precisely for this moment, countercharges with devastating effect, shattering the Austrian horsemen and securing the victory. As dusk falls, the Austrian army is broken. What began as confident expectation ends in headlong retreat. The scale of the Prussian victory is staggering. Against an army more than twice its size, Frederick has inflicted devastating losses while suffering comparatively few himself. Leuthen sends shockwaves across Europe. It is hailed as a masterpiece of tactics and leadership. Napoleon himself would later study it, declaring it a masterwork demonstrating movement, maneuver, and resolution. But at its heart, Leuthen was a victory of the mind. Frederick the Great, facing overwhelming odds and immense pressure, refused to succumb to emotion. He maintained his presence of mind. He analyzed, planned, and executed with icy calm. He used discipline, deception, and maneuver to overcome brute force. He demonstrated, perhaps better than any commander in modern history, the power of Robert Greene's strategy number 3. In the crucible of conflict, whether on the battlefield, in business, or in personal crisis, the pressure to react emotionally can be overwhelming. Fear clouds judgment. Anger leads to rash decisions. Panic paralyzes action. But the lesson of Leuthen, the wisdom echoed in Greene's strategy, endures. True strength lies in maintaining mental equilibrium amidst the storm. The ability to stay calm, think clearly, and act decisively when everything seems to be falling apart is not just a virtue. It is a profound strategic advantage. Frederick the Great's victory was not won by numbers, but by a mind that refused to be conquered by chaos, a mind that amidst the turmoil of events did not lose its presence of mind.